birthday, all you Marines out there. So, Semper Fi. So, as always, we'd like to start the service with a song called "This Is the Day," and if you'd please rise and join us to bring up the spirit in the sanctuary, we'd really appreciate your support. You ready?
Yep. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sing that with me. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Woo!
Wow, I feel like we cut it a little short there. Did we miss a whole chorus line or something? Oh, okay, just checking.
It's just a hat, I think.
Oh, okay. All right, welcome everybody. My name is Reverend Clyde Goins. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I want to welcome you on this beautiful fall morning. And so I'm going to start off. Kathy Rose has a couple announcements of some things that are going on, and then we'll move into some other announcements.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, actually, I was really proud that I got this at the thrift store, and I liked it so much. I wanted everybody to see it, but, anyway. If you're planning on joining us for Thanksgiving dinner, there was a sign-up sheet there for you to offer to bring something if you choose and sign up for that. But you don't have to bring food. You just have to bring yourself. So and I do need to know how many people are coming. So if you could sign up and let me know how many people will be joining you for Thanksgiving dinner, it'll make it easier to cook for you. And we're accepting gratefully donations through Thursday. If I can extend that, I will, but right now through Thursday for the sale that's coming up in just less than 2 weeks now. So all of my volunteers will be hearing from me very shortly about the schedule for setting that up.
And the sale is
November 23rd. Oh, the sale is, any donations. You can bring anything you want, but it is the grand reopening of our thrift store that we've been working on and a bazaar. So we're going to be having some fun. So see you soon.
All right, thank you so much, Kathy Rose. So a couple of quick other announcements that are coming up. First is I want to remind everybody that next Sunday is going to be our annual family meeting with the bowls of Thanksgiving, and it's a potluck, and we're asking people to bring soups and stews and to share with everybody, and we're going to get together and just share information and gather information and eat wonderful food. And what was it? Was there another announcement? No. I think that was the only another announcement. We talked about that one. So, all right. So now, If you notice, I got my hat on, I got my apron on. So we are focused on Seeding the Future, our pledge program this year. And our theme this year is Life is Sweet and Let It Rise. So we focus on our pledge program for the entire month of November. And this is where we formally ask for your financial support. This year we're focusing on the recipe for success this year. And it starts with what we want to experience. So our faith and our belief is the recipe to set the intention, but we need the best ingredients for it to be successful. So the ingredients for a successful life is to understand spiritual principles and how they apply to our life. So if I use garlic when I make chocolate chip cookies, they probably wouldn't turn out very good, and nobody probably would eat them, right? So when we understand and apply spiritual principles, our lives change, and the sweetness of life rises within us. So the law of cause and effect, or the law of circulation, is the key ingredients of creating your successful life. Tithing is a spiritual practice and the ingredient for allowing life to rise up within you. When we tithe, you are giving from a place of love. You're claiming that God is your source, and you stay in the flow of circulation. When we give love and support, we receive love and support. Tithing is a spiritual practice that anchors us in our faith. So your financial pledge this year is seeding the future for our spiritual home. And we're asking your continued support by filling out a pledge card. You should have received the pledge cards in the mail along with a letter from Reverend Karen. Our goal this year is to collect 35 pledge cards with a total amount of $75,000. So we ask for your pledge amount once a year to help us budget and plan for 2025. We are good stewards of your contributions, and our spiritual home's recipe for success is your financial support, creating a container to help us learn spiritual principles, experiencing loving support, and allow our life to rise. Because of your contributions and support, we have a beautiful Sunday service, we have an online presence, and we continue to provide classes and special events to help you grow your faith, deepen your connection with Spirit, and change lives. So our theme this year is Life is Sweet, Let It Rise, and we're focused on that recipe for success. So understanding and applying spiritual principles to our life are the key ingredients of letting that sweetness of life rise up within us. Every Sunday, we talk about spiritual principles and how to apply them to our life. So last week, we gifted you with the Abundance book by John Randolph Price. If you didn't receive the book last week, we still have some books up at in the foyer, so you can grab one book there. So after service today, if you'd like, you can join me, and I'm going to be introducing our 40-day abundance spiritual practice that we're going to be starting in January. So we're going to meet right after, just go get some snacks, and then we'll come back in here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how that practice is going to work. It's for 40 days straight, and so please join me, and I'll explain all of that to you after service, and then I'm going to explain it again on the last Sunday of the month. So today after service, yep. Today after service, and also the last day of the month. So everything begins in consciousness, and our abundance is all the richness that life has to offer. So I want to talk a little bit more about the pledge program. So again, you should have received the pledge card in the mail, and we have extra pledge cards here if you forget to bring in your pledge card. So you can bring in, after you fill out your pledge card, you can bring it in, you can drop it off in the black contribution boxes, you can drop it off in the gold box in home space, you can give it to me, Reverend Karen, you can mail it in. There's many ways that you can send that in. And so that'll allow us to plan and budget for 2025. There's a box on there that if you check that box for auto tithe, then I'll work with you on setting up the auto tithe for you if you want to set up the auto tithe, direct draft. And then I also want to let everybody know at any time, if you pledge your amount and you decide sometime during the year that you want to increase your pledge, we always love that, or if something happens that you need to decrease your pledge, all you have to do is let me know and I'll work with you, and that's not a problem at all. So when you turn in a pledge card, we will place a pot holder on our giving tree so we can see our abundance consciousness grow. So you can see we have our first pot holder right here. So Reverend Karen is going to continue to decorate the trees. We had recipes from last week. We have a box of ingredients down here in the bottom, and some more stuff will happen over the next couple of weeks. It continues to grow. So again, our goal is to collect 35 pledge cards with the pledge amount equal to $75,000 or more. So please join me in praying for the abundance of our community. So I want to close with the quote from Marianne Williamson. She is a Unity Church spiritual leader, and this is what she says about law of circulation. We are not held back by the love that we didn't receive in the past, but by the love we're not extending in the present. And so it is. All right, so now let's say our vision statement together so we can move into the service. If you have any questions about the pledge program, please come and see me after service. So let's say our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is. So now just sit back, open up your hearts and minds for the Bradford's beautiful music and Reverend Karen's wonderful message. Thank you.
So just take a deep breath, relax as we move within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
And in this quiet place, there is but one God, one essence, one love, joy, beauty, peace, harmony, health, infinite intelligence. And each of us are individualized with this Spirit. We are all part of the whole. And knowing that each of us today comes together to learn, to grow, to share, to show forth the God qualities that we all know and come to expect in our lives. And I say a word of blessing for the Bradfords and their beautiful music that always, always brings us together and brings us joy. And I say a word blessing for Reverend Karen and her message that teaches us something that we can take with us and show forth and show others. And knowing that this service is absolutely perfect just the way it is, I release it into the law. And together we say, and so it is. So I'm getting ready to start a new class, and of course with new classes always comes new books. So I have, it's by Raymond Hollywell. It's called Working with the Law. And it's got laws in here I've never even heard of, but I thought it was kind of fun. I mean, really, seriously, there is. The law of sacrifice, it's like, okay, I got to read that one, see what this one is. But in here under the law of receiving, there's a poem that I thought I would read, and it's called Giving. Since this is the month of Thanksgiving, and we have so much to be grateful for if we just look. If we just open our eyes for a half a second, we know and we can see all the things that we can share, that we can give. To get what he had tried, yet the store was still meager. To a wise man he cried in a voice keen and eager, "Pray tell me how I may successfully live." And the wise man replied, "To get, you must give." As to giving, he said, "What have I to give? I scarce enough bread, and of course one must live. But I would partake of life's bountiful store." Came the wise man's response, "Then you must give more." The lesson he learned, to get was forgotten. Toward mankind he turned with a love new begotten. As he gave of himself in unselfish living, then joy crowned his days, for he grew rich in giving. And so it is.
If you want more love, then give love. If you want more joy, give joy. If you want more peace, give peace. If you want more, give. If you want more, give. If you want more money, give your money. If you want more time, give up your time. If you want more friends, be a friend. If you want more, give. If you want more, give. When you give, you receive. It's as simple as that. There's no effort, no struggle. It's just a simple fact. If you want to see a change, then be the change. If you want to have more truth, tell the truth. If you want more gratitude, give thanks. If you want more, give. If you want more, give. If you want more, if you want more, you got to give. If you want more, if you want more, you got to give. If you want more, if you want more, you got to give. If you want more, if you want more, you got to give.
Oh, I
I think you got a little more in there that you want to get out, Miss Kathy. I think we want something jazzy every week. That was fun. That was really fun. What are you doing?
I'm hanging out.
Hi. Always happy to have you hanging out with me. Good morning. Good morning. Look at us kicking off a Sunday morning. I happened to think while we were playing that beautiful music, I love that Michael Gott song, and that album is fabulous. The other album, he's a good friend of mine. From ministerial, our experience of becoming ministers together. And I was candidating for this church when he was candidating for the big Unity church. He's a religious science minister that Unity sucked up and went, we want you. And he literally was the, how do you say it, predecessor? No, he was the follow-up act to Howard Caesar, who had that giant Unity church, one of the biggest Unity churches in Houston, Texas. And Michael got that church, and I got this church. We all got something there. But the reason I'm even talking about him is just because that song just grounds me immediately. I mean, because I know it's coming. I hear the guitar beginning, but there's something in that beautiful music, and that song is called, we do this all the time, I'm sorry, we have to think about it. Clyde, do you remember, Reverend Clyde? It's the Quiet Place, yeah. And you can buy that. You don't need to contact Michael Gott. You can just Google that and buy it on Amazon. And but another song that really, really helps me is Karen Drucker. That was the Karen Drucker that you just did. And Karen Drucker, this song, the grounding song for me for Karen Drucker when I'm going through something really hard is... Oh, I love Beloved, yeah. But no. But yes, it actually does ground me. But the song I'm trying to think of is Let Go of the Shore. Let Go of the Shore. Whoa, that song is, I'm glad I thought about it while you were playing, because I could use that myself in some of the places in my own life where I see that I'm hanging on for dear life. If we let go of the shore, we can trust that that greater essence of truth. So this is our giving tree, not Christmas. This is our giving tree. You'll see we have some fall colors on it, and we got our first pot holder. I am adding a pot holder for every card that is returned. One of the you see what we put on the top, a big oven mitt. An oven mitt. Oven mitt. Can be good talk today. And so I can't wait till we cover this tree with pot holders, because I have plenty in store in preparation and anticipation and excitement around our campaign for the year 2025. And by the way, Reverend Clyde has gotten us off to such a good start that I don't have to say all the things he said, but I do want to add that remember that when you fill out a commitment card, at least here at the West Valley Center, we do not treat that like it's a bill. One season, we actually lost a beautiful person that was one of my favorite people to have in the room on Sundays, and she disappeared for about 2 or 3 years, and she came back and she said, I'm going to tell you why I disappeared. I made a commitment that I couldn't keep, and I was embarrassed. And so I said to her, well, we don't, it doesn't matter. It's not a bill. That's why Reverend Clyde says, if something changes in your life, just let us know. And even if you don't let us know, we will not reach out to you and nag you for this is it. This month is it. And then the rest of the year, we're very generous in receiving your gifts, and we trust that we anchor ourselves well in this month where we are seeding our future. And so the title of my message this morning is Loaves and Fishes. Guess where we're going? We're going to talk about some loaves and fishes. Even if you were never a student of the Bible, you probably know a few Bible stories, and so this is one that I'm only going to loosely talk around. But we are indeed creating this recipe the month of November every year. And we set aside as an opportunity to seed our future, and our theme is Life is Sweet, Let It Rise, because we are creating this cooking theme. We're working every week on a different idea. Last week we did it recipes. This week we're talking about the ingredients and everything in the spiritual teachings of any religious faith or spiritual tradition, what we offer you in terms of spiritual ideas is a recipe for how to get through difficult times, for how to improve your well-being, a recipe for knowing how to get along better in your relationships, a recipe for expanding your idea of what it means to be prosperous, to live healthy and well in your life in whatever ways that matter to you. And what we know is that as a collective, we are the whole of humanity. We are part of that oneness of God, that allness of God. And yet we are all uniquely individual expressions of God. And so we see great value here in our spiritual community, especially in the month of November, where the board of trustees is, we want to make a healthy budget for next year. And we do all of that based on the things that Reverend Clyde talks about each morning for this month. Next week will be about you. Next week we do the beautiful bowls of Thanksgiving. Julie brought us that idea, and just soups and stews or chilies and bread and did I forget anything, Julie? Maybe a little salad for those who would like that. But I trust if you like salad, you'll bring salad. But I always say, bring something you'll eat. You won't go hungry. And desserts, yeah. We always say yes to desserts as well. So. We are, in spite of the changes going on in the world around us, we are standing firm in our commitment to planning and envisioning and joyous expectations that our message, that our importance as a spiritual community in the West Valley of Phoenix, Arizona, that it matters and that we make a difference to lives, that we are about transformation, that we are about understanding that as we change our minds, we change our lives. And that's the way we can be big for God. Counting our blessings and expecting to be inspired and being grateful. This is that month of gratitude, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, it is. Don't let me run away with everything. So I was thinking about this quote from Dr. Holmes that he says, these are the things that are hard for me to think about. So sometimes the things that I find cumbersome in my own personal study, I like to be gentle with you, but I trust there are people with the wisdom to hear some of the things that I don't get, that you might even hear it easier than I do. But Holmes said, and Dr. Holmes, by the way, is the founder of this teaching, and we are religious science, or the science of mind, is a part of the bigger entity that we call New Thought, and that includes unity and divine science and Church of Truth and a whole bunch of independent, New Thought, New Thought entities. Holmes said that the manifest world, that is this physical world that we live in, that we can touch, that there's earth and there's trees and there's four-legged creatures and there's us as human beings and lots of other things. Holmes says that the world we see, this manifest world, is the body of God. We are the body of God, and all the classical metaphysicians would agree. Holmes didn't make that an original statement. In fact, he always said he didn't do anything original. He just packaged it up so we could see methods and formulas and ways to use spiritual teachings, the truths of every religion. So in terms of living in this physical world, this manifested world, we remember that it is created, everything in this entire universe is created by an infinite intelligence. And it is that intelligence, it is that wisdom that is the energetic aliveness that keeps everything moving and keeps things in order and allows the expansion of consciousness. And even though it doesn't feel like consciousness is expanding in terms of all of humanity, sometimes it doesn't feel, perhaps you felt this way this week, it may not feel like it's expanding, but it always is. That nature has no problem dealing with storms and volcanoes and things that we find terrifying, perhaps, but that there's still order in those things that appear to be disruptions. I think that is a part of why Jesus spoke to the idea of judge not by appearance, because there's always more going on. So we are a part of the universe. We are that part of the manifested world that we move and we change and we transform, and that is a constant in our life until we take our last breath, and then we do that ultimate transformation, and then life continues, because there's an eternality to life that continues, and we experience something new that there's lots of conversation about, and nobody is certain except the people that think they're certain. And then I still wonder why, because I want to live on this planet in this life now, and I'm excited to explore other things later. But there are those eternal truths. In some faiths, they call it the ultimate reality of life that never changes. God is the creator, whatever you call that idea of what God is, however you interpret that in your own way, that is the absolute, the first cause of all creation, and it is that which created all of us and everything in the universe. So God is life. God is the universe. And that means that even though we might not be able to see it and recognize it by just looking at it, that there is some kind of perfect order that is always unfolding. There's a functioning that we don't have to worry about. And what that then tells me, if I try and apply it in a more personal way to our own living as human beings, that there has to be a divine solution to any problem we might encounter. So we are attempting to look at the ingredients that we would need to create a perfect recipe. We're focusing on those ingredients today. And we did place thank you, Susan. Susan made a basket of ingredients for me, and I put them under the giving tree. And that's our contribution in this week. And then next week we'll have a different theme, and we'll add other things in addition to your potholders. And we will continue to decorate or fill up that giving tree with evidence of our understanding of spiritual laws, the law of circulation, the laws of correspondence, and yes, there are dozens of them. I will say, however, I'm pretty sure in Science of Mind we would not talk about a law of sacrifice. That was funny. When you said that, I went, oh my God, yes, that would be alarming, because it's not a word we would use in our vocabulary. Though a couple of things I'm going to talk about today might be new. When you want to make something really good, you're going to look for high quality ingredients. And that's what we're talking about. We want a quality end result. We want to set ourselves up to experience, not only to expect, but to have an experience of a really wonderful year next year. So last week when we were talking about the recipe, I used this idea that if you were preparing food in your kitchen and you reached into your spice cabinet or your refrigerator or your pantry, whatever it might be, and you grabbed a product that was going to be a part of the meal that you were preparing, if you looked at that product, no matter what it was, if you found it in your kitchen, and if you looked at what it was before it was processed and packaged, etc., whatever else they do to our food, you would see that it had a very pure, God-given beginning. And so I thought, when I was remembering that as I was writing this talk, I thought, that's where we start. That is always where we choose to start. God is always at the beginning. We want to turn to our spiritual roots to get grounded again. And what we know is that, isn't that how the Bible starts? In the beginning, God. So that's a good little piece of wisdom we can all tap into and use. Just start from a spiritual grounding, and then everything else begins to make sense. Or you'll begin to be able to kind of see things from a different perspective. In the biblical story of the miracle of the fishes and the loaves, Jesus fed a multitude of people, they say. And so the beginning, the starting ingredients were sparse. A little bit of bread, a couple fish. And what the story tells us is that from one perspective, it would seem like an impossible task to take a little amount of food and to feed that many people that were listening, that were gathering, and that wanted to be a part of this message that this great teacher, this new teacher, was bringing. But from the mind, whether you see the story as, I believe it's helpful to see all the parables as stories, more than trying to look at the literal idea of it. This way we have a broader audience. This way everybody can see meaning in the story. The value in the story is in the metaphorical or symbolic understanding and in the way that you process it. What does it mean to you? And there should be a tiny piece of something in just about everywhere we look if we can be open-minded and not, so many people come to this teaching feeling a little wounded from some kind of Sunday school experience or the way they were raised religiously. Or the way they weren't raised religiously. And so I hear a lot of people say, I'm a recovering Catholic, or I'm a recovering, fundamentalist, whatever it might be. And so what I want to say is, that's why we have classes, so you can recover and not have to carry that title around with you. And that way, once we heal those old wounds, then we can hear any message, and we can just look for a thread of truth in that message that would be unique for ourselves. So that's what we're always looking to do. And what I think when I look at the fishes and the loaves, I believe one of the important messages that we don't always notice is that the message is about the way this man who spoke of faith in a very powerful way, and he said things like, the Father and I are one, and it seems like there's this important message that was coming through at that particular time with all the Mosaic law and all the rigid rules and things they had to follow religiously. This man comes and he's a rabbi, he's Jewish, and he's saying that there are other ways to look at this, and so I understand that I'm one with the Father, and Jesus then can serve as this image of an elder brother to help us see that we are one with that great Creator also, that there's this oneness and this allness of life that all of us have inherited. So I think that he then performs these miracles, and what we see is that he expanded what was. He took these meager supplies and he expanded, and everybody was fed. And the message that I don't want us to miss here is that he had this gift of seeing beyond any appearance. He had this gift of really seeing through any idea of limitation just by it's almost like when I read some of those things now I was a fundamental Christian, so I read them differently once, but now I read them and it's almost like I can take a step back or a step back and up, and I see a broader perspective of how useful these ideas might be for me personally. So beyond limitation, there is a more unlimited reference we get in this particular parable. Dr. Holmes wrote about it, and this is where I was inspired to write a talk titled Loaves and Fishes. Why do you think they called them fishes? We don't do that anymore, do we? Don't we just say fish? So, but it makes the story more fun if you're me and you're telling it loaves and fishes. Almost feels like I'm being naughty. It's just so fun. So Holmes wrote this, and this inspired me. I know. Bear with me. Here's what Dr. Holmes said. Jesus identified the loaves and the fishes with eternal substance, forever flowing like manna from heaven. So the miracle is about manifesting what we're calling eternal substance. The manna from heaven that is forever flowing. You know, the story says the Israelites went out and there was nothing to eat, but every morning miraculously there would be this something that they would pick from the ground that sustained them. And it would only be good for that day. The next day it wouldn't last except on the Sabbath. Miraculously it would stay fresh so they didn't have to work on the Sabbath. And it sustained them. So it's a really beautiful image of the way God provides. But we're talking about God providing a substance that sustains all life. There's an understanding that there's a limitless way that the givingness of God is demonstrated on this planet. Just by we could all see it as we look out in nature in the ways that Kathy was mentioning in the reading or your explanation of the reading. There are just so many ways we can see that is the grace of God, the givingness that, we couldn't, if we couldn't breathe, if we didn't have air and if we didn't have water and if we didn't have gravity and all these things that are just here sustaining life on the planet, and we don't even have to think about it. So we can't see those things necessarily, but we benefit by noticing the effect that they create in this generosity that is a divine generosity. So our understanding of the givingness of God, or this way that grace is always flowing, this divine grace, our understanding becomes the ingredient that we most need in order to live a satisfying life. Now, I would point out that we all know what happens when we've seen what happens when the natural flow of anything is blocked or interrupted. I was thinking, just driving on the highway, if you happen to have to be on the freeway during rush hour, there's a lot of people on the freeway at rush hour, and so the roads get congested. They're more congested than they would otherwise. But should there be a little accident or something, and they close a couple lanes on that freeway, then you might find that you are stopped on the freeway, that the traffic actually gets stopped. Maybe they even create a detour so you can find a way around the accident, around where it's clogged. Or maybe it's a drive you make every day, and you start sensing it's about to stop, and you get off the freeway and you find your own alternate route. See, that's how life is. That's just the way life works. If there's a traffic snag and it's slowing you down for some important thing you get to go to, it's not that somebody is setting that up so you'll be late or you can't get home in time for dinner. It's just a part of life that things happen, and we learn that there are detours or alternate routes that we can take. Another good example of that happened recently with the dock workers went on strike. And so we began to see it with some product was getting a little tricky, and I saw on Facebook like, ooh, toilet paper. Everybody started to worry again. And then the strike settled, and then the flow was reestablished. But when the system of supply and demand gets disrupted, something has to happen to fix it, to remedy it. And we know all of this. Every ailment in your body is because something got too twisted or congested, or you don't have the circulation moving properly in your physical being. So we understand that these are laws that are spiritual, but they are also, we see them demonstrated in this very physical way. The story of the fishes and the loaves brings us something just a little bit more when we're talking about God's substance as sustaining our life. God as that power which is greater than we are, that is a power for good, and we can call on it and we can use it. And our willingness to make an effort to use these things that we teach every single Sunday in this exact sanctuary, and in nearly any church you go to, there will be some thread of truth. These spiritual truths are the ingredients that we need. And I always trust, and those of you who are here all the time hear me say it, that, if you come with a tiny space of willingness to open your heart, to open your mind a little bit, there will be something here for you. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a decorating tip on the giving tree, but it might not be anything I say. In fact, sometimes it's something somebody else will say later that will make you think a little with a slightly different slant from the way you thought you heard it. So I know that when we create that opening, that then becomes the miracle, the miraculous power of receiving, because miracle is defined as another perspective, another way of looking at anything. In fact, some translations say the miracle is translated at the root as wonderful to see. I love that. Isn't that lovely? In my own personal experience, my most life-changing, miraculous experience while I was studying this philosophy happened in a moment where I sort of accidentally surrendered into that almighty power. And it wasn't that I was praying, but it wasn't that I went to God in prayer because I had a problem. It was because I woke up with this sense of, whoa, marvelousness, like this fierce appreciation how miraculous and incredible life was. And I got on my knees at the side of my bed, and I don't usually pray on my knees. And I just had this beautiful opening that I could tell you, I could try and describe it. I could never really relay it in the way I experienced it. But what I recognized was that whatever God would imagine for my life would be greater than anything I could pray for. Anything that I could think I needed or wanted or desired in any way, I would have a limit to it, because I don't think as big and broad and unlimited as we can in this life. And in that moment, in that pure transformational experience, a shift inside of me, I named it, I get this, I said. This is what it means when we say, thy will be done. Not my will. I'm not using the power of positive thinking to manifest material things in my life. I'm using this idea that there's a bigger story here, that God's will for my life is greater than I could imagine for my own life. And it was just so true. It was a major breakthrough for me. Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote in the Science of Mind textbook, regarding that statement, thy will be done, he said, thy will be done is not about submission of any inevitable limitation of any sort or of any evil or darkness. It's not about, whatever you will for me, God, and then I'll go through all these challenges because I know you're going to make me a better person if you put me through these challenges. It's not that at all. The understanding of thy will be done is that you, at some point in your life, recognize that it is the knowledge of how these spiritual laws work. It is the knowledge that there is a presence and a power greater for us, and it's good, and it desires to give you that grace, to have you in that flow of goodness at all times. And it is that knowledge that the will of God is for good in your life. Things happen, but I do not teach that those things happen so that we might be better people. We're in a relationship with something that is far greater than we are, and God can have God brings, with that openness on our part, God brings us a greater vision. So we begin to see this union, this way that Jesus said the Father and I are one. We begin to see that there's this oneness, this way that it's all interconnected. And then we have this great spiritual philosophy that supports the idea of diversity and equity and inclusion. But oneness is not sameness. We don't want to dress alike. We're never going to like all the same foods. That's why potluck is so fun. There's going to be something yummy for you. And it doesn't mean that we do this, that we're the same. And yet, as a part of humankind, we are whole in the same way that maybe you could look at a pizza. A pizza. Imagine that it's just whole and it's hot and fresh out of the oven and it's just for you. And all the ingredients are the ingredients you chose. And it makes a whole pizza. But it has ingredients. It's got bread. It's got cheese. So far, so good. And then whatever else you want to put on it. Mine would have to have black olives. I'm just saying, it ain't pizza if it don't got black olives. You too? Oh, I'm not the only one. Yay! Yeah. So we build it, and it's something, but it's made of a bunch of individual ingredients. And so we're here to talk about all the ingredients that make up our life, and we're talking about choosing quality ingredients for our own walk of God so that we can unify with that essence of oneness that is God. And remember that unity does not mean uniformity. It's unity. Holmes said it this way, and I think it's a metaphysical term. I don't think it's Holmes, but unity at the center, variety at the surface. And you know what else I was thinking? This is kind of strange. I never thought this before, I don't think. I mean, kind of. Don't you want to know?
How strange is
Oh, good, you're still there. I was thinking that sometimes a challenge in my life can be the perfect ingredient to make me stand up a little higher and stand back and look a little broader and get the divine perspective. So back to no, we're not back yet. We're not back yet. I brought a stick. So I brought this stick. Oh, get your attention that way. It's not really a stick, but it's a stick. And the reason I brought this, and I had to look up this quote, it was a little tricky to find it. I know Holmes says it everywhere. We do not have a good concordance. That would be my one gripe about all the wonderful things we've done. We don't have a good concordance. But Holmes said this: failure and success are but two ends of one stick. So right now, this stick represents life. And one end of it will be failure. I may change my mind. Don't get too attached to this end as being failure. This end will be success. And all of it is just one life. There's one life. That life is God's life. That life is my life now. There's only one mind. That mind is God's mind. That mind is my mind now. So I get my lower thoughts out of the way so that I can tap into the higher thoughts, but there's only one life. There's lots of light, but there's one life. And to my ability of understanding the consciousness of success and failure, as we use opposites to understand the contrast between the two, if I have a strong consciousness for success, I'm going to see a lot of it. If I have only a small consciousness for success, I'm going to be more further down here. And then individuals, we're all individuals, so we make up the whole. So what we know is there are a lot of people on the planet that don't see success and root for how does the pessimist say it? I'd rather be prepared than be sorry or be sad later, however I don't know. I don't think I've ever been a pessimist except in a bad mood. And then quit laughing, you who works with me. You're giving away the truth. They're going to know I'm only human. What's going to happen here? But if you have a consciousness of unlimited goodness and success coming into your life, then that's going to be your experience. And it's going to have nothing to do with how much money you make or how successful you are at your career or how many friends you have. It's your consciousness. And so always on the planet, we have a consciousness of, we're looking at the same thing, but we have a different level of consciousness around the things we're looking at. For instance, heaven and hell. See, when you see the world in pairs of opposites, that's duality. And we live in a physical world with real things, so we do see things as black and white or up and down. In heaven and hell, we see health and illness as so let's just say that's the pole. Now we're looking at our well-being in terms of our physical health. Some of us have a consciousness to either get well quickly or not get sick much, as well as the gift of the body and the package that it came in. And this, so you have an opinion about wellness and you have an opinion about illness, or vice versa, whatever. And then you live that life based on those beliefs. How happy you are in terms of your well-being may or may not have anything to do with your physical health. Look at the people who have had tragedy and went on to do amazing things with their life, with what we might see as great limitation, and yet they were still successful in their lives or did extraordinary things to overcome their setbacks. Rich or poor, full or empty, and it goes on and on and on. Holmes said, opposites are not the results of opposing powers, but they are the results of the way we use one power. Could I have you guys come up here now? I want to change that a little bit. So now I want to be a little less, the stick is so linear. Now I want us to start thinking in a slightly different direction. So if you would just stretch that out and try and put the blue in the middle in front of me as much as you can, please. This will probably not film as well for those of you at home. What we have is a ribbon that I have taken portions of. I have red, yellow, green, and then blue, and I have double blue because I had equal portions. Now, if I loosely connect these colors to the Eastern philosophies of color, and we talk about the chakras, what do we know? We know that red is the primal color. So if you're sitting on the floor, your spine is close to the earth, and that's the red-colored chakra that is, red is for, let me see if I can follow some of my notes here, and for anybody who might really be interested. Red is the root chakra, and it represents security and stability. It has to do with our connection to the physical world, but it's primal. Remember, it's the beginning, before we advanced in consciousness. And by the way, I did not do, I know you, those of you who know about this, I did not do all the colors. But then I moved to yellow. Yellow is that right in the center of your being, the solar plexus area. And yellow is for personal power, self-esteem, and our sense of purpose. So we're sort of evolving. Then we move to the green. Green goes up to the heart area. And in the green, we see spiritually that the heart is about harmony, and especially harmony in relationships. And then we get to the blue, and we find that the blue, which is the throat chakra, and it's about communication and self-expression. If we look at these same colors from a psychological or spiritual interpretation, blue is the calm and the tranquility. Now, in the middle here would be purple. Purple would be the crown, or I guess the third eye. Is it third eye? And then, see, a lot of them, smart. And then after that, white. But so I didn't put it all in here, but you get the idea that there's something powerful in the middle. The highest vibration is that violet color going out to blue. Psychologically and spiritually, we say that's calming and that's tranquility. And then you get to green, and with green, we see growth and prosperity. With yellow, we see joy and happiness. And now on the ends where we see the red, we see that red is passion. And here's where it gets interesting for me. Psychologically, passion can be love or fear, love or hate. Now, if we look at this as sort of that stick, right? And there are two ends, and we got the red on both ends. Red is also a color of urgency. That's why it's got that fear energy in it. And love is that, and when we put it in love there instead of love here, we're talking about that passionate first early love. Everything that's wrong in the world right now, or what appears to be upsetting in the world right now, has to do with what's going on these ends. Because the ends are the loudest voices, right? The ends are the people that have the strongest opinions. The ends are the news that the TV's trying to sell you, so you'll watch their channel. It has to be high drama. It has to be something that gets your attention. And every vibration, now this is where it gets really interesting to me. If you look at the vibrations, the highest vibration, the highest energetic vibration as the behaviorists are beginning to measure and report to us, our love and kindness and goodness and peace. But then as it goes down to the lower vibrations, you get down to worry and concern and hopelessness, fear, hatred on the ends. Horace, a classical philosopher, this is my theory. I'm just making a lot of this up right now. All right, I've been making it up for a while, but I'm presenting it today. Horace, a classical philosopher, said, "Force without wisdom falls by its own weight." So if we have loudness and forcefulness in the strong opinions, or maybe even in the deep sadness some people are feeling this week because the agenda didn't go the way they hoped. I would say half, obviously more than half, participated, and there we are. So there is a lot more vibration on those lower ends that is not a healthy, loving, kind vibration. So we want to be patient and kind and compassionate. And by the way, I have witnessed nothing but that in this church, except for me. I've been really impatient and grumpy. Sorry, Janice. Where did Janice go? Janice walked in my office, and she was like the fifth person that interrupted something really intense that I had a deadline for. She knocked at the door and said, "Can I come in?" And I just went, No. Sorry, Janice. I was down there at an end. Force without wisdom falls by its own weight, and when the ends are going to fall, what's going to happen is it's going to collapse, and it's going to swing like a pendulum, and it's going to create a full circle again, and it will no longer be a linear line. So let's imagine that it made a circle, and these two ends come together. Now what I want to show you is, actually you can help me make it a little circle. I didn't imagine we could do that. That's good. What I want to tell you is now, whether it was love or fear in this end of the passion, the urgency, the primal color here, it doesn't matter anymore. It is the same. It is the same. The energy is the lowest energy, and it's the same, but it closes the circle. And now we can skip that idea of the bell curve that, yes, it's the loud voices on each end, but 80% of this circle, 80% of this circle, I didn't actually measure it that way. Don't rat me out if I'm wrong. Is it close enough? He said it's close enough. 80% of this circle is us. It's us. And our vibration varies depending, and by the way, some of us are in and out of up here too, of course. We're not so spiritually enlightened that we aren't impacted by what's going on in the world. But the good news is we take turns. So there's always a crowd down here in the blue and the purple and the green with open hearts and open minds, and they're doing the work and they're holding the vibration at a higher level while our open minds are transforming the consciousness of humanity. Thank you. I appreciate that. In God, life is not a stick, right? In God, life is not linear. Life is circular. And now if you would take an image and shift it up in your own mind to put God in the center and watch the colors radiating out from the center. And then that gives me this gorgeous feeling of like, okay, when I notice I'm impatient or short or grumpy and nothing's going on in my life, I'm picking up on what's going on in the consciousness of other people because the world is disrupted. It's okay, it's a time, and I can't always be who I'd like to be. But then I can get back closer to the center. I can just make decisions in my life I can double up my spiritual practice. I can really avoid watching the most disturbing things on TV that wallop me a little bit. So now let's go back to the loaves and the fishes. Holmes wrote, when we have the faith to bless that which perhaps seems small, like a loaf of bread and a fish, when we have that faith and then expect that good can be multiplied in our experience, it will not only bless us, but it will bless all the people around us. Do you hear what I'm saying today? Let's look for moments to notice where things look small or scary or weak or powerful and it frightens us. Look for those places where we're impacted personally. And then know that it may feel like you may feel like you don't have the strength to hold up the rest of the world in all your wishful thinking. And then know that you do not have to hold up the rest of the world. Because when you bless yourself, when you see it even for a moment, it shifts your whole anatomy. And then it's a gift to other people as well. You will not be the only one blessed. You will bless everyone around you. So have that faith. In the way that humanity was given the Lord's Prayer, the way that some churches or religious faiths say that the Christian scriptures, where we find that Jesus gave this model prayer that we call the Lord's Prayer sometimes, the very first petition is for daily bread. It is to me as if that the Lord's Prayer as a model prayer is saying, you can't worship God if you're empty. So fill yourself up and do that every day. Fill yourself up. Remember the ways that God is good in your life, and look for things to be grateful for, and see the expansive nature of where you place your attention, because where you place your attention, what end of the stick, impacts the way you show up vibrationally and energetically in your own life. Thank you. I'm reminded of a Robert Browning poem. I love Browning. Dr. Holmes quoted Browning often. Browning said, "If thou taste a crust of bread, thou taste all the stars in the heavens." We can't do the work we're being called to do if we're empty. So let's partake of God's good, of God's grace, of God's love. And remember, the ancient metaphysicians quote Plotinus, a philosopher, classic philosopher. Plotinus said, "Things are as real as they need to be." Things are as real as they need to be. So yes, do not judge by appearance. But my judgment of something I see that doesn't feel right is an invitation for me to do my inner work. So it's as real as it needs to be. And when I clean my own inside thinking up, then I will see differently. Because everything you're feeling needs to be felt. This is not a talk about, just to have positive thinking, it's all going to be okay. This is about acknowledging, loving yourself enough to know that everything you're feeling matters. And there is a fabulous recipe that calls you back to spiritual principle. Feed yourself well. The grace of God is freely given. We are seeding our future here, and we want you to be part of that future. And we are just mixing together all kinds of wonderful ingredients for success so that we can keep doing the work that we want to do here. I will close this morning with a quote from Rumi. "You already have the precious mixture that will make you well, so use it." So we take a breath and remember yet again this beautiful truth that God is here. Right here, wherever you may be, always and at all times. God is here as a presence of light, that divine illumination that shows us the way. And God is here as joy and as peace and as harmony. And God is here as love. And so right now, we just feel that presence of love. Love is the activity of life. And I feel it and I sense it within me, and I know that life, that force of love is something that is seated and embedded at the very core of every individual. And that our very discussion around that idea of finding the secret place of the Most High within us taps into that divine love in such a way that we are stirred from the inside. That there is a quickening because the intelligence in every cell of our body responds to these holy words of prayer. For it is prayer that invites us back to recognizing the perfection that's seated in our being. It is love that ignites that divine wisdom so that we can look out at life and see the way that God must see. That appearances melt away, and we begin to notice that even in chaos, there are people helping each other. There are friends checking on friends. There are birthdays being celebrated. There are babies being born, and we are mourning the loss of loved ones. And still, there is this ongoingness of life. So because we pray these powerful words, something is stimulated within us that creates that healing. Whatever ails us is responding to these words so that the cells of our body can realign and regroup and create health and wellness and vibrancy and vitality in our bodies. And as this is true for our physical body, this is true for our relationships. That there is this beautiful kiss of blessing from God, the grace of God streaming into our lives, that changes minds, that attracts people together, so that there is an experience of support and love and caring and kindness. These are the words we speak this day. And as we look at being good stewards for this spiritual community, we claim for ourselves a healthy prosperity consciousness so that there is plenty to go around, that we can support our spiritual home in a way that helps us have a future here, that helps us to change lives and transform minds into thinking about holy things. So I know this is good. I know these are blessings we take with us this day, and I give thanks for that. For in essence, in that greater understanding, there is nothing to be healed. There is only more truth to be revealed. And as God can imagine goodness for our life greater than we can, we open ourselves to join in that imagination of successful living, of prosperity consciousness, of health and well-being and love in every way. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, Infinite Spirit. I simply release these words of prayer into that dynamic law that receives these words and allows them to be. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
All right. Thank you, Bradford. And so I just want to remind everybody we have Dining with the Dudes today, so please join us. There's a lot of good food being cooked in there right now, so please join us for the food. And then after the service, come and join us for the introduction for the 40 days of our spiritual practice that we'll be doing. And if you didn't receive a book, let me know. We'll get you a book. Kathy Rose wanted me to let you know that Fred is, if you want to drop off things over the weekend, he's available. So you just reach out to him and he'll meet you here to drop those items off. So we don't pass around the offering plate. We have drop boxes, black boxes, contribution boxes in the back of the room. And so we appreciate any donations in your tithe. Just drop them off in the back of the room or in one of the black boxes, and we appreciate that. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song.
All right, thank you. You know, Robert, one of the things that every time you ask Robert how he's doing, what do you say, Robert? Blessed beyond measures. So every time I hear that song, I think of you every time you say that. So anyways, so now we're going to say our closing affirmation together. So just repeat after me. The ingredients for my recipe for life allows me to see beyond physical limitations. And so it is.